back again, and live and direct from a very, 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 very frosty Whitney. But I've got Louise and Rachel all the way from Edinburgh joining me in a minute as well. I'm doing my normal thing. As soon as I know that I'm live, I'll bring Rachel and Louise on. But until I know that I'm live, I'll keep talking to you folk. LinkedIn will tell me in a minute. Here we go. LinkedIn's just telling me that I'm live. So what I'm going to do, let's do that. If you're here, if you're watching us, then do me the favour of popping a comment, saying hello, giving us maybe a like or a heart along the way as well. That will really cheer us up. It's nice to see that we've got some people watching us already. Going to be talking to Louise and Rachel from Olivander Executive about how to turn your dreams into operational reality. So it's going to be really interesting because Rachel and Louise do the stuff which helps actually turn the big ideas that people like me have into the steps, into the processes, into the stuff that happens in the background to actually make it a business. Hello, Paul Newton. Oh, Paul, you've just reminded me to do a bit. When I'm looking down here, I'm doing the bits that make all of the exciting stuff work. So, hi, Paul Newton. It's good to hear from you. I was just talking to Gary Jones about you yesterday, actually, Paul. So, thank you for joining us here. I'm sure you and me will be in touch soon. But you're right to tune in this afternoon, Paul, because I've got, and everyone else who's watching as well, because I've got Louise and Rachel about to join me to talk about what they're doing. Just before we went live, we're having a couple of sound issues, so I'll be variously muting myself and muting other people during the course of the next 20 minutes or half an hour or so, just to make sure that you don't get the same feedback that we're getting. If I occasionally get it wrong, I apologise. Louise and Rachel, I've known for years now. I've known them as the backbone of the Expo Scotland and the other events that hashtag events put on, and so I'm really pleased. And they're looking much, much, much more Christmassy than me this afternoon. Hi, Louise and Rachel. Louise, I'm going to start with you first. Tell us a little bit about what you do.
Oh gosh, so I'm Louise. I describe myself as an ops wizard for Olivander Executive, and our company's goal is to bring your dream projects to operational reality. So we help business owners get unstuck and freed up to focus on what really matters to them, which is often not the systems and processes and boring stuff in the background, which we love. Um, so our clients want to grow their businesses free from stress without sacrificing their time and have more control over their kind of work-life blend. And we do this by reviewing all of the P's of your business backbone. A couple of examples of the P's are principles, plans, processes, procedures, and people, and the pennies as well. Let's not forget about the pennies. And then we offer a bespoke plan to improve and implement in these areas. So that's it in a nutshell.
It's just, you know me, you folk know me pretty well, and I'm the big thinker. I'm the person who stands up and talks and that sort of thing, and I don't do the detail in the background. I know that about me myself. Rachel, I'm going to take you off mute in a second and ask you the same. How do you think it all fits into other people's businesses?
I think sometimes what you need is just a bit of an outside opinion because sometimes you can't see the wood for the trees as well. So even just having the opportunity to talk through everything with someone that's not as close to your own business, because as business owners, we can do it all, and it's a question of whether you should do it all and whether it's good to get like other opinions when you're so in it. And also sometimes people are you're kind of like you're working with the clients, you're doing the day to day, you're not having time to get breathing space as well. So one of the things we're starting to offer is an OO review, which is an Ollivander outside objectivity review. So basically giving people the chance to get their kind of business fresh eyes looking at it and chatting about everything, seeing if the things you put in place when you created the business are still the things that are working for the business, or maybe you use loads of different systems, but are you using the systems to the best of their abilities? If you've got systems that could be, doubling up for other systems and get rid of one. So it's all those kind of things that you maybe just don't have time to think about.
I think that's definitely the case. If I'm looking, sorry, folks who are watching, particularly if I seem to be looking over here a lot, I'm just managing everyone's mics from this end. But yeah, what you've both said makes so much sense. Rachel, you just said that bit about business owners not having time because we're often doing the stuff in the background, and the other bit about just having a review of systems and processes to make sure they're not being duplicated. I think there's a couple of things when you're inside a business, it's really difficult to see that picture, and I would certainly rely on folk like you to look into it and have a look. And I was doing some work with people who work in a corporate the other day about delegating tasks so that they can do the stuff that they're meant to do, the stuff that they're really good at, actually getting over their fear of delegating some of the other stuff to the people who are better than them at doing the other stuff. Do you think that's an issue for executives as well? Do you think that executives really struggle to think that anyone else should be able to look at their business, or to think that anyone else might be able to do the stuff better than them? I'm going to start with you, Louise, and then after I've asked you that question, I'll go over to Rachel. So the question again was, do executives, do people who own businesses struggle to delegate or let people look at tasks as well?
100%. And I know from our own perspective, growing a team of people where, it started out just the two of us, we've had our own struggles with that delegation piece. So, yeah, no, I think it hits all business owners. And there's a really simple task to do, and it doesn't sound very technical, but it helps. If you get an A4 sheet of paper, right, and then just draw a big triangle. I'm going to do it. This isn't going to be very straight.
You do it. I'll tell you what. Look, I'll tell you what I'm going to do. Actually, Louise, I'm going to give you the screen on your own for a second, so you can show us that. Show us the big piece of paper again.
Honestly, you don't need to see this. It's just a wonky triangle, okay?
It's better
And
than I would
then
have drawn it.
if you take the top quadrant, do you see that?
I'm putting you back on. There you go.
Okay. Top quadrant.
I can see it.
And ignore the top bit for now. In that triangle, the main section, you write every single task that is required to run your business. So every single thing you can think of. And then the top triangle is the stuff that only you can do, that you can't delegate. And then everything else can be delegated. You don't need to worry about who's going to look after it at this point. It's just the things that you don't actually need to do. And that's the difference. The huge chunk of things that the business needs to run that you don't really need to do. It sounds really simple, but it's quite a useful task to do.
You've just you've just blown my mind. That triangle idea is so, yeah, because there is so much that we convince ourselves that we're the only people who can do. But if you even apply a little bit of thought to it, like you've just done with the triangle, then that's often false. I'm really sorry I'm having to put you on mute all the time, Rachel. I'm going to take you off mute and ask you the same question, whether people really struggle with this concept of delegating those tasks.
Yeah, as Louise said, 100%, and I love her little triangle. I think sometimes it's also a bit of overwhelm and a bit of embarrassment because you're sitting there thinking, oh, I don't know what to delegate, and I'm not sure if like I'm ready to kind of share my because your business is your baby as well. So you're just kind of like, oh, but then I have to kind of get into the nitty gritty of explaining how I work and I can't see it. And yeah, I think sometimes it's easier. You just think it's easier if I just do it all myself. But um yeah, getting help's definitely something every business owner should consider. And we do as well. Like it's the same.
So you take your own advice along the way. You get other people to that you can outsource things to yourself. Rachel, I've got you on mute at the moment, but I'm going to ask you that question. I'm going to take you off mute. So you do. I use the expression "eat your own dog food," which isn't terribly polite, but you do take your own advice and go off and get help yourself as
Yourself
well.
as well. Yeah, and it's definitely hard when you're first doing it. Even if you're somebody that is used to coming in and helping other businesses, it's still kind of hard getting someone to do the same for you, but very effective.
I think we get sort of scared along the way of letting other people look too closely at our businesses. I was talking to the managers in this corporate about that the other day. If we pass stuff out to other people, we get scared that either they're going to be really rubbish about it or they're going to be a lot better at it than we are along the way. And both of those things are a bit scary to us. Tell you what I'm going to do for a second. Let's put this up on screen. If you're watching this and you're not already connected to Louise and Rachel, I've known Louise and Rachel for years, right? I've known them in the way that they run the events of hashtag events Expo Scotland, the Red Dragon Business Show, Chester Expo, all of the other events that I've spoken. I've known Rachel and Louise running these in the background, being front of house, being a lot of the organisational nous behind it. But I also know that they're sort of the country's best kept secret as well because I've long been a fan of them. But if you're not connected with them already, then you should be. Here's Louise, and then here is Rachel's profile in the background. I'm going to copy both of those profiles because I haven't tagged you yet. I'm going to put them in the comments whilst I'm doing it. You can see it's quite weird doing that because you're seeing me talking on screen and then you're seeing me doing that on screen as well. But look, there's Rachel and Louise. If you're not already following them, let's bring us back on screen. Then go and connect with them on LinkedIn. If you've got any questions about how to put the processes in place in your business to make it work, pop them in the comments. If you're watching this on replay, pop your questions in the comments as well because we'll still get them answered for you. I'll tag Louise and Rachel in those comments afterwards. I think who have I not got on mute at the moment? So Louise, I'll start with you. Give us a flavour then of you can do the review with people, which Rachel talked about. You talked about working out which tasks you don't need to do or the business owner doesn't need to do. How do you go in and help people with their businesses?
Well, the first point of call is the OO review because that's really it's 2 days of scoping. So we find out everything there is to know about the business. And that sounds a bit scary, but it's a completely judgment free zone. And all we're trying to do is figure out what you've got in place that's working well and where are the cracks that need to be looked at and filled in and streamlined. And and that's it. That's where we start. And every business faces the same challenges, but each business is different, so will require a different solution. So again, it really depends on that business.
Yeah, I bet because it's impossible for you to know before you go into a business exactly how they're they're structured operationally. I use a lot of tech and quite a lot of automation in the background for my stuff, which I sometimes get wrong because it was sending you the wrong Zoom link yesterday, just as an example. But I try and use a lot of automation in the background. But I guess there are a ton of people out there who don't do that and need different types of assistance in the background as well. What sorts of businesses do you think that it would most be appropriate for, or what sorts of business can you give the most help to? I'm going to take Rachel off mute, and I'm going to ask Rachel that question.
I think it's any business that's been going maybe for a couple of years and it's getting to the stage where you're just not going to expand unless you kind of get some. Like you just don't have time to expand, so you're not going to expand unless you get help. Businesses that we've worked with at the moment and in the past, anything from like a video coach to somebody that runs a whole host of Airbnbs, to mortgage advisors, accountants. Um, it's a wide range of different businesses that we've worked with. So it's been small businesses that have, kind of up to kind of 10 employees, or solopreneurs that are just by themselves and just need that extra bit of help.
The slight delay in between is me messing around with the tech in the background. Um, and Louise, what's the outcome? What should a business hope for if they get their processes in better shape than they are at the moment?
I think it depends on their goals. So if you're looking to increase your income by 3 times, that's the solution we would put in place to help you with that. But it really is to help overwhelm and plate spinning and to have a proper set of procedures and processes in place so that the team can grow and the director can remove themselves and do more, you know, business development if that's what it is they want to do, or write a new book or something along those lines.
You're sort of talking to me in that respect because I need to get on with the new book, and actually, yeah, finding time for it is the challenge. I know I've got the time if I organised things better. There are a lot of entrepreneurs out there like that who want to find the time to write a book or create more content because they will have me banging on at them that they need to create more content, but actually freeing up the time to do that, or finding the time to do that, is important. You mentioned scaling a business as well, so that the director, so that the owner can sort of remove themselves from that business. That's something that so many small businesses struggle with, isn't that? Don't they? A lot of us become the sort of owner driver, where we're the visionary, but we're also doing all of the work as well. And I'll start with Louise on this one again. Is that's the sort of thing where you can help identify with people exactly what they need to do to take their business forward in future?
Yeah, exactly. We always try and put a plan in place for, short term, medium term, long term as well. Um, but yes, you're right. It's about, usually when people set up a business, they'll grab the systems that they need in that moment, and those systems work fine until they get to the point where they're growing, and they then find themselves with a patchwork of different systems that don't talk to each other, and they're too busy now to then go and find the time to research other systems that are more appropriate to their growing business. So it's to get them to that point so that then everything else can be duplicated and growth can just happen on top of that.
That makes a lot of sense as well. Rachel, I'll ask you, and then I'll whip you off mute when I've asked you. Is it just about software systems in the background? Is it just about that sort of thing, or can you can you sort of assess, review, and help people with much more than that?
Yeah, no, it's not just about systems. I mean, we obviously do look into all the systems that people use, but it's about your actual, standard operating procedures. It's about, as Louise said before, establishing what your kind of goals are, re-looking at like what you wanted to achieve when you started the business. Does that still fit where the business is now? What your kind of plans for the future are? You know, deep diving into all of that to see then what can be done um, with the 5 Ps to kind of help get you to where your ideal position in business is.
That yeah, that it makes a load of sense as well. Like I said earlier on, I think sitting inside it, it's often quite difficult to see it as well. Louise, I'm going to come to you. Apart from the triangle, which was amazing, and I'm going to play that over and over again, and I'm going to do that myself this afternoon. I'm going to get a. I've got my book here, the book that I use here. I'm going to get some blank pages of that ready to go later on to do the triangle exercise. What what other tips would you give to people, Louise, about how they can start to think about this before they work with you, before they talk to you about it?
Well, we do actually have a free quiz that people can do, and it takes about 5 minutes, I think, Rach. So you're not taking long out of your day, and it gives you an idea of where you're sitting, depending on the questions that we've asked you. So, and we give you a report at the end of that quiz and some hints and tips to help based on the answers that you've given. I can grab the link for you if that's helpful. But that's completely free.
I'm
It's
on
just to
mute,
help
aren't
you
I?
clear
Is it
your.
is you'd think I'd know these things. I've done this often enough, Louise. I was putting myself on mute because I was actually trying to find it. Is that quiz on your website? Was what I was asking.
Yes, it is on the website.
Right, I'm grabbing the link for it now. Whereabouts do I find it, Louise? Tell me where I find it, and I'll bring it up for people.
If you go to the contact page
Yep.
and then it's let's get quizzical.
Let's get Quizzica. Okay. Oh, amazing.
That's the one.
That's it. Right. So again, I'm going to copy the link for this. If you're looking at this, you can see the link at the top there. And if you're not looking at it, you're going to hear me type in now. You're going to hear me typing in the background. Da, 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 da. And there it is. There's the link to the quiz just there, which I've put down there. Let's bring us back on screen. So, Rachel, I'll ask you this one. Once people have done the quiz, then what would they hope to know at the end of doing the quiz? What would they have found out about themselves and their business?
It should give you kind of like where you are. So brilliant. If you're doing absolutely brilliant, here's some kind of like tips on how you can improve. And then if you're kind of like middle of the road, it'll give you tips to suit that. And then if you're kind of at the stage where you're incomplete, like overwhelmed, that'll give you some tips for that as well. So hopefully it'll help people and kind of, let them know that, there's it's kind of normal to be in that position as well. But also there's things that you can do about it and just take a breath and step back and think about it. And yeah. And also get in touch with us if you've got any questions or if you want us to have a wee chat with you.
One of the businesses that I've paid attention to over the years, probably unsurprisingly, was BNI. And what I learned from Ivan Meisner, who founded BNI, is that one of the very first things that he did when he only had one chapter, when he only had one BNI group, was to systemize everything. And that's how he's now got BNI groups in, as far as I know, every country in the world. And a massive, massive organization. And that's that's the bit that I think clever entrepreneurs get at first. That it's about systemizing their business. It's about building processes. It's about getting themselves out of the driving seat all the time, which will actually enable the business to grow. And what I'm getting from you two is that's what you do. Louise, before we call this a day in a few minutes, we've been chatting for ages already, and it's been fab. Have you got any last hints or tips that you want to give to the people out there?
Um, I'm trying to think of one off the top of my head. One thing that changed my life in terms of processes and recording processes, again, it's dead simple. You don't need to write reams and reams and reams of pages, processes that people fall asleep halfway through. Just record a quick room when you're doing something. Build up a bank. There's your processes. Done.
I use Loom a lot, but I've never thought about using it like that. Actually, that's really clever. I think coming coming from my marketing and content head, something really clever about that is you can document your business along the way, and actually, as well as being useful to yourself, that can actually be quite useful content. Some of it, some of those videos you could actually put out there. I've seen there's a piece of software that I'm working with at the moment, and the owner of that business is constantly, if you ask a question, they're constantly doing a loom and replying to you and saying this is how you do it. My website designer's just done exactly the same for me. I'm going to ask you the same question, Rachel. I'm going to take you off mute. Any final tips for the folks out there?
Yeah, I think I've got a real bugbear about the term strengths and weaknesses, and I think it gets used all the time. And especially if you're going to think about it in like delegation and things for your business. Don't think about strengths and weaknesses and what you're good at and what you're not good at. Think about what you enjoy doing and what you're passionate about doing and what gives you kind of like motivation to do, and what just doesn't give you any motivation, and you just put that to the bottom of the pile and end up like never dealing with it. That's the things that should be delegated as well.
It is such a wonderful way of thinking about it. And actually, that's really helped me in some of my conversations with the aspiring leaders that I work with as well. Because when you talk about what are your strengths and weaknesses, the, their response, might just be, even if it's internal, might be, oh, if it's a weakness, I shouldn't be weak at it. I should get better at it. Rather than thinking, oh, the best thing to do is just to get someone else to help me with it. For the last time before we go, I'm just going to do this. If you're not connected with Louise and Rachel already, you should be. You will notice that they've got their professional photos on LinkedIn where they're not all Christmassy. I've got them both on mute at the moment, but I can see that they're laughing. Let's take that off there. There's both of them. Go and connect with Louise and Rachel. If you're watching this on replay, then do pop your comments in or connect with them and DM them, or connect with them and go and do their quiz. But do get in touch. I always really enjoy talking to you folk. We need to talk more in the new year, Louise and Rachel. I'm sorry that I didn't get to Expo Scotland a couple of weeks ago. The reasons behind that. Decided not to travel at this end of the year. Louise, it's been lovely to see you. Thank you very much. And Rachel, it's been lovely to see you as well. I'm just going to take you both.
Oh,
Oh,
you
you
too,
too,
Stefan.
Stefan.
It's
It's
brilliant.
brilliant.
Lovely to
Lovely to
see
see
you as
you as
well.
well. Thanks, Stefan. It was wonderful to see you.
Thanks, both of you. I'm going to do this. I'm going to put myself back on. And I'm going to press the button which takes us off LinkedIn. Thanks for joining us. Do connect with those two. I've really enjoyed working with them, and I will be back live on LinkedIn really soon.